Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video it's going to be React, and the goal of this video is just to show you how you can set up context in useReducer for global state management. Cool. Okay, and again, this is not the only way to use context and useReducer. They're very powerful hooks. You can use it in all sorts of ways, creating essentially ways of managing stateful logic in not your always in your entire application, but in chunks of your application. But what we're gonna do here is just kind of create like sort of a central place to kind of manage your state. That's essentially the goal here. So in this case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say npx create React app context reducer. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll take this setup and actually make it a template you can use. I'll put it in the video description if you would just like to basically have this all set up. Okay. So let's see here. So here we have our React project. And I'll just do npm start, so that way I got to cd into the folder. Context reducer, npm start. Okie dokie. Now let's see here. First thing I want to do is create a new file that's going to be called our we'll just call this context and reducer .js. And essentially the first thing we do is there's several different pieces that we're going to want to do. We're going to want to create a context. So first is import create context from React. So we're going to do is first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a context. And we'll just call this app context equals create context null, so that exists. Okay. Now then what we want to do is create a custom component, a provider. Like we get the provider, but the idea is that we want to have a component that kind of does all this state logic for us, so that way we just wrap it around. So we're going to say custom component to provide state via useReducer. Okay. Good. So then what we just do is we say const app state, because it's going to be the application level state. And this is going to be a component that takes props, not that we're going to use them. Okay. And the main thing this is going to return is the app context dot provider. And then inside there will be props.children. So that way the rest of your app will just kind of be nestled inside of there. Okay, now we need to create state, so that way that can be provided. Now we're going to use useReducer. So what we'll do is we'll do const, which means I need to go bring in the useReducer hook. useReducer. And what we'll do is we'll say state dispatch equals useReducer, and it's supposed to equal a reducer and the initial state, which we haven't defined. So we need to do that. And we can just do that in this function. So we need to have an initial state, which is whatever you need for your app. Okay, so we'll just create a variable called initial state, const initial state equals, and for now it'll just be an empty object. you would add what you need throughout the building of your app. And then what we would do is then define our reducer. Const reducer, which again takes the state. Well, it takes the current state, so I'll just define it that way, and the action from dispatch. That'll be defined there. Okay, useReducer. And yeah. Okay, so that's good. And what we want to do is always destructure const the type, because it's standard that you send over a type and a payload inside of the action. And then we create a switch that checks the type. And then for now, we'll just put a default case, which just returns the state. Okay, so that's sort of like the boilerplate. So there's our reducer function. Good. Now we have our state set up. Now here's the thing. Oftentimes, like using dispatch can be like a little verbose. I have to pass in that object. So what I'm going to do is just make a custom wrap dispatch in another function. So we'll just say const. We'll call this const update equals. And what you're going to do here is that you pass in the type and the payload here. And what this will do is we'll just trigger dispatch for you. Dispatch, and then generate the object, the type, and payload. Okay, so that way, that's just easier to set up. And then that's what we're going to provide. We're going to provide your entire app. So the value of what we're providing is going to be the type, not the type, the payload, the state, and the update function. So instead of using dispatch, you'll use the update function. That just means you don't have to type in like type and then the string and then payload and the string. You just type in the string and whatever you want as a payload, and this will kind of just handle it for you. Cool. So that's set. There's our custom. And we want to make sure we export this component. So let me go over here to app state and let's export it because we're going to need that. And then the last thing we want is a custom hook, because that way you don't have to import the context in every file and then use useContext and all that stuff. We can just have a hook that does that for us. So I will import the useContext hook. And then we'll create a custom hook to get the context. Okay, and then we're going to export that, and that's going to be another arrow function, const use app state equals no arguments, and this just returns the result of saying use context. Use context app state or app context, and that'll pull the data from that context from the provider. And yeah, now all that boilerplate's kind of taken out of the way, and we'll put in some basic types here. Okay, so just always put the default counter on there. So we'll say case add. We'll say return what we'll do is we'll give the initial state a count property, Again, so that way there's just some boilerplate here for you guys to kind of latch onto. So basically what you're going to do is the way I would do this is I would create a new state. So I'd say the new state equals a new object that's exactly like the old state. And then we can say new state dot count equals new state dot count plus whatever we put down as the payload. And then we return new state. Okay. And all you have to do is every time you make a new one, you just change what's here in the middle. Because you should always start like this and then like this. The idea is you create a copy of the state, make your modifications to the state, and then return the new state. That's essentially how this should be done in its simplest way. There's more succinct ways of doing it, but if you're new to using these, this might be a better, more succinct way of thinking about it. Okay, and then we'll have subtract. Okay, and then I see here that that's right, because of this whole, I got it. So we have to do this. Actually, even more succinct would be this. We will just declare the new state here. Const new state equals a new object with the old state. Okay. And then you just make your change and return the state. There you go. That's nice and succinct. Okay, so let me just put some comments here. Retrieve, type, and payload. And make a copy of the state. Cool. So that's like a basic reducer. I think there's anything else I need to do here. Let me actually put some comments here. Then again here, we create the state and dispatch. And then here, we create update function to make it easier to use dispatch. Cool. Okay, so that's done. That's essentially all the setup. So now to install this, we'll go to app.js, not app.js, we'll go to index.js. And while I'm at it, I might as well install router. So let's install npm install react router DOM. So that way this application just kind of has everything going on. Okay. Oh, well, that's fine, but I need to do this in index.js. So let's go to index.js. And what I want to do is import let's just do this from / context and reducer. And now I can do this. This should be able to auto tell me what's in there. So I think it's app state. I don't think I need to use app state, so that's all I need from there. And I need import browser router as router from React. Oh, no. From React router. Okie dokie. And then we're just going to wrap these in there. So we can just say app state should wrap everything. Oh. And inside of app state we'll have router. And then we'll put all this inside of that. And that provides our entire application with router and app state. Cool. And there we go. We now have an application level state. So now, for example, here in app, if I just want to use that context, I just import that custom hook. So I'll just import use app state from dot slash context reducer. So now I can just do this. I can say const context equals use app state. Or I can even just call this app state, so that way it's more semantic. Okay, use app state, do that. And notice I don't have to import the separate context. I just do this because this hook already did everything inside the function. It just makes life easier. So there, now I have the app state, and I can build my counter. So I can do something like this. I can say like h1. We put the count, so that would be app state dot state dot count. And then I can put a button with an onClick event. And all the onClick event does is runs an arrow function. That's going to run app state.update, because that's we sent over the update function. And the update function will just take the add, that'll be the type, and the payload will say 1. Okay. And let's see what it's complaining about. Oh, I still need to finish the button. We'll say add. And now we'll okay, that's going to load, and we should have a working counter. Nope, I broke it. Cannot access state before initialization. Oh, I probably need to fix something over here. Oh, I know what I did wrong. State is here. This needs to be current state, because that's what I called it up here. Current state. I'm going to change this to current state too, because that's going to cause a problem. Cool. Refresh. And now it's working. So now essentially what I want to do is anytime I have state that I want to track globally, okay, I just add it to my context reducer. You just add it to here, and then you just add cases in which you want to change it here, and you just pass that to the update function and just import that wherever you need it. Okay, and that's pretty much how you do it. Okay, so it's really just a setup that takes a while. Once the setup is set up, it's pretty easy, and now you actually even have router that you can use in here too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this template to to GitHub. So let's do that. So you can watch me do it. So that way you can see how you can generate a template. So I'll just create a new repo. We'll call this React Router Context Reducer Template. I'll make this public. Leave all this stuff blank. Create repository. I'm going to get this page. I'm going to want this URL right here. And then I'm going to say, well, actually, let me do a few things first. I want this README. I want to rename this README to like React README. And I want to put in my own README. And this README just gives, template directions. One, clone. 2, do an npm install in the clone folder. Okay. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So then I'm going to add that remote, git remote add origin, paste the URL. And then I'm going to do a git push origin main. Although I still need to commit the stuff, so git add dot git commit dash m updates git push origin main. There we go. Cool. So now when I refresh the page, I should see the repo here. Okay. And then I can go to settings. Although technically I really don't want it here. I want to fork this. I'm going to fork this to Alex Merced templates and put a link to that because I want it under there. So all my templates are in one place. Okay, and then I can go to settings. And I can go here and click template repository. And now going forward, if you go to my repos page, you see you can use this template to generate a project. Okay, which makes life easier. Okay, you just go there, it'll just generate a copy in yours, and then you can clone it down and get to work. So I'm going to copy this URL, and this will be in the video description. But yeah, that's how you do the thing. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like. Also subscribe to my podcast, Web Dev 101, and follow me on Twitter. And yeah, thank you very much. Check out devnursery.com. Join the Slack and Discord community there, and I'll see you around.